Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. A Northwest Territories man convicted of murder has told a court he was not given proper representation by his lawyer. Kevin Mantla made the argument today before a special commissioner appointed to review the merits of his appeal. In 2018, Mantla was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 20 years for the second-degree murder of Elvis Lafferty and the attempted murder of Mantla's ex-girlfriend. The CBC's Nadir Hashmi has our top story tonight.
Mantla alleges his defense lawyers tricked him into not testifying during the trial. He said in his own words, "They were working behind the scenes with the Crown and the victim to set me up." Mantla also alleged in court that he blacked out and does not remember parts of the murder incident at Lanky Court. Crown Prosecutor Ryan Carrier referred to the affidavit submitted by Mantla's defense counsel, where they mentioned notes of discussions with Mantla in February 2018, expressing concerns about severe risks of conviction due to the substantial evidence against Mantla, and a written note signed by Mantla confirming his decision not to testify, to which Mantla alleges his lawyer Charles Davison pressured him into this decision. During cross-examination, Carrier asked Mantla what he would have testified to if Davison had not prevented him from doing so. Mantla responded in his own words, "Elvis Lafferty didn't deserve to die. He was a good man." The Court of Appeal will reconvene in November for the cross-examination of Mantla's defense counsel. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A Northwest Territories judge has ordered Gwich'in Grand Chief Ken Kikavicic to step down until the Territories Supreme Court reviews a decision that was made by the Gwich'in Tribal Council. Earlier this week, the GTC said it would redo its election for Grand Chief. This court ruling means the GTC must wait to hold a new election until the judicial review is done. Sarah Kromolowski explains.
The preliminary results of the Grand Chief election saw Frederick Sonny Blake Jr. defeat incumbent Kikavicic. Then, Kikavicic filed a complaint alleging that Blake violated the council's bylaw and policy, and the Gwich'in Tribal Council ultimately decided to overturn the results, even though its elections committee found the accusations unfounded. Representatives from the Gwich'in Tribal Council, Blake and Kikavicic, were in the Northwest Territories Supreme Court yesterday, there to discuss an application from Blake. Blake asked that the Gwich'in Tribal Council pause its plans for a new election until the court has reached a decision on the original election. The Tribal Council agreed to do this. Blake also asked that Kikavicic stop acting as Grand Chief until that decision comes down. This includes not acting as GTC spokesperson, making decisions, or heading board meetings. He also asked that Kikavicic refrain from talking to board members about the election. Deputy Judge Vital Ouellette put those conditions in place. Blake and the Gwich'in Tribal Council will go back to court on October 30th. That's when they will present their arguments as to whether it was legitimate or not for the Gwich'in Tribal Council to overturn the results of August's election. Sarah Kromolowski, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Residents of Whale Cove, Nunavut have been getting support from around the territory after their only grocery store burned down last week. Supplies from other communities are coming in literal boatloads. Residents of Rankin Inlet packed their personal boats to bring much-needed supplies to the people of Whale Cove. Residents say they're grateful for the support.
We are so thankful. We have been working hard since the co-op burnt down. We have been at the community hall sorting out food and groceries that are being brought in, along with hampers for each household. We are very thankful is all we can say. We can tell people have been praying for us. We are grateful our children and grandchildren have enough to eat. Some receive pampers that are much needed. We are very thankful. People care so much even though we have no more store to buy food. I just want to thank everyone who helped and prayed for us. We just received another shipment today. Thank you.
The mayor of Whale Cove was also on hand to help organize supplies. He called the incoming support overwhelming. The local Canadian Rangers have been helping sort through food supplies.
The younger ones and mothers with babies that need milk and pampers. Us older folks, we are okay. It's mostly the babies and young ones.
The Arctic Co-op hopes to have a new store ready by the next sealift shipping season in 2025. A former teacher from Coral Harbour, Nunavut, is heading to trial on assault charges. They're related to an alleged abusive incident involving a student at Saku School. Michelle Wolfe was charged in October after accusations that she allegedly grabbed a student during an incident last year. In response, the Coral Harbour District Education Authority temporarily closed the school for about a week while the investigation took place. Wolfe's defense lawyer entered a not guilty plea in Iqaluit last week on her behalf. Her trial is scheduled for the end of February. Iqaluit RCMP seized a cache of stolen weapons from a cabin on the outskirts of the community on August 5th. Stolen property and other weapons were also found by police at the same residence. A follow-up investigation resulted in charges being laid against two people. A 33-year-old man was charged with numerous firearms-related offenses and possession of property obtained by crime. A 56-year-old woman has been charged with theft under $5,000. The Yukon's mines minister says an independent review of the Eagle Gold Mine heap leach failure will provide crucial answers to what happened. But as Jackie Hong tells us, the local First Nation says it's not enough.
A trio of independent experts is now working on a monumental task, identifying the causes of what some have described as an environmental disaster. The work is expected to take 6 to 8 months. The government has promised to make their findings public. The Eagle Gold Mine is on the traditional territory of the First Nation of Na-Cho-Nai Dun. It's been calling for a public inquiry. The Yukon's mines minister says he's not ruling that out, but isn't ready to commit to one yet. He says he wants to see what the review turns up before deciding next steps.
This catastrophic slide happened in a window of a minute. We did not anticipate it. I need to know what happened. Yukoners need to know what happened in order to understand where we go.
The First Nation did not make anyone available for an interview, but in an open letter, it maintains that the review is, quote, insufficient because it's only focused on the technical aspects of the failure. The First Nation says there must be a holistic process that also looks at systemic issues leading up to June 24th, things like enforcement of mining laws or lack thereof. It says a public inquiry is the only process that can achieve that and is urging all Yukoners to join its calls for one. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Atlantic Canada tends to have some of the best air quality in the country, but climate change is altering that, and for some, it's also affecting their breathing. As Moira Donovan reports, new research led by Dalhousie University now suggests a link between climate change and lung health.
When wildfires rage, blanketing communities in smoke, or a heat wave arrives, you can feel it in your chest. But what exactly is happening to your lungs? There's little research here in the Maritimes about lung health and climate change. This respiratory epidemiologist wants to change that.
Because everybody breathes and everybody might not notice it, but you notice it when you can't. And so I think that as people become more aware, it's going to be more important for scientists and the community to ensure that people have access to timely and accurate information.
Research from elsewhere in the country shows the consequences can be severe. Wildfires produce tiny particles called PM2.5 that affect lung development and increase rates of lung disease. This can be especially dangerous for people with pre-existing lung conditions.
The breathing in of particulates, especially when that might be exacerbated in a time of a wildfire or exacerbated by extreme heats, causes more inflammation and causes a bigger response.
It's why Stanievich is leading a project to set up sensors like those already in use in the Northwest Territories. The goal is to better monitor air quality at the local level. More generalized data is already available. There's the National Air Quality Health Index, and the Nova Scotia government funds monitors in several places across the province.
But they don't always reflect what an individual may experience. And so we have monitors in downtown Halifax, but that may, an individual's exposure in various parts of the city may be quite different.
A New Brunswick organization has also worked on an interactive map that provides near real-time information about local air quality. Melanie Langell is the CEO of NB Lung.
Our wildfire seasons are getting longer and more intense, and more widespread. So there is a real need to understand that PM 2.5 component of air quality, which is the main component in wildfire smoke, to understand that more on a community by community basis.
Stanievich says the plan is to work on a similar map to give Nova Scotians the data they need to manage a changing climate and their health.
So it might be choosing to invest in an indoor air quality filter, or just to modify their behaviors and go out at different times of the day to avoid exposures to some of the peaks in when the air quality is the worst and might exacerbate their symptoms.
The sensors are expected to start returning preliminary results in the next year. Maura Donovan, CBC News, Halifax.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh made a campaign-style appearance in Toronto today. It came a day after he announced the end of a confidence and supply deal with the Liberals. But he wouldn't say if he has confidence in the Trudeau government. As Ashley Burke reports, Singh is trying out a new strategy to win voter support.
A day after Jagmeet Singh's big breakup with the Liberals, he's campaigning to replace Justin Trudeau.
And when the next election comes, my friends, I am running to be the next Prime Minister of this country.
This polling aggregate shows the Conservatives have surged in support, and if there were an election today, could win 42% of the popular vote. That's at the expense of the Liberals, which have been trailing behind all year, and the NDP hasn't benefited. It's sitting in third place.
When folks are upset with the red team, they then start looking at the blue team.
Singh came out swinging against the blue team, trying to distance himself from the Liberals and position himself as the alternative to Pierre Poilievre.
Let me be clear. Conservative cuts would take things from bad to worse.
Singh stayed on his message track, repeating it more than a dozen times.
We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. We have absolutely ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau, and that means an election is more likely. We have ripped up the agreement with Justin Trudeau. The agreement is done.
But despite repeated questions, wouldn't say if he would bring down the government.
I will look at any vote that comes before us, and we will make a decision in the best interest of Canadians, as any minority government normally operates.
And people know that. They remember what Conservatives do.
This is all unfolding during two fierce by-election campaigns.
And who is ready to elect common sense Conservative Colin Reynolds in Elmwood, Transcona?
The NDP's trying to hold on to a seat in Manitoba and pick up another in Montreal. Now the party's in the spotlight.
And it allows them to go to voters in those ridings in particular and say, look, we aren't propping up the unpopular Liberals. You can vote for us and get something different.
The move puts the Liberals on shakier ground.
Hopefully the NDP will continue to try and deliver for Canadians. Right now they're focused on politics. We're focused on Canadians.
Singh says he's ready for an election, but if he plans on triggering one, he won't say when. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Oh, imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
And spoiler alert.
No! Don't panic!
Don't panic!
Cut to. Well, we're not cutting to.
What do ladies want to watch?
Look out! It's drama.
Oh.
I'm ready for it.
Triple. Homicide accepted.
Everything all right here?
Yeah. Is there a problem?
We got a call about a disturbance.
I just think there's something really off about this guy.
I've lived through today, this day, before. I need you to believe me and tell me I'm not completely crazy.
What would you be prepared to do if you had one more chance?
Anything.
Welcome to Plan B Agency. Select your desired destination.
Breaking news that shapes your world. With local CBC Radio 1 Live to connect us closer to home. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want, where you want. On the CBC News app. Download for free.
Imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Oh, God!
This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie. Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
The first of 9 Gwich'in-owned homes has arrived in Inuvik. It marks a significant step in providing housing for participants of the Gwich'in land claim. These buildings are part of a larger plan to build 20 homes in the Gwich'in settlement area this year. The CBC's Des Loreen has the details.
The Gwich'in Tribal Council has one house on the ground, and another is due in Inuvik next week. The homes are part of a housing strategy to help Gwich'in people.
There's no specific allocation for it yet, but there are 9 homes coming into Inuvik. They will be delivered kind of over, that was the first one. There'll be one arriving next week. So 9 homes will be delivered between now and mid-October.
Some of the homes will be rent to own and others can be bought. Mayor Clarence Wood says the growth is a good thing for the community.
As you know, Inuvik's been in a bit of a downturn over the past few years. So seeing new interest in the community, and that's what I think it is really encouraging.
Programs are currently being finalized, and the Gwich'in Tribal Council will start taking applications this fall. This year, homes will be delivered to Aklavik, Inuvik, and Fort McPherson, with plans to build in Sigachik next year. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
The Nunavut Department of Family Services has finished public consultations for its Family Wellness Strategic Plan. The plan is aimed at improving the government of Nunavut's protection and support services for families, youth, and children. The plan is a response to the 2023 report by the Office of the Auditor General of Canada. It heavily criticized the GN's approach to the protection of children. The report found that the territory inadequately responded to reports of suspected harm, did not complete many investigations, and did not sufficiently monitor the welfare of children in care. Consultations were held in 7 Nunavut communities. The GN plans to release the report this fall. Former airport security screening officers are speaking up about their working conditions. This comes after passengers complained about workers being unprofessional at the Ottawa International Airport. Priscilla Kisan Huang has that story.
Last month, I published this story. It's based off of internal government documents I got. CATSA is paying a lot of money, $2.7 billion to be exact, to a company called Garda World to do its airport screening. Well, turns out CATSA received more than 100 complaints in the past year and a half. People used words like threatening, appalling, power trip, but unprofessional conduct of officers topped that list. That story resonated with Canadians from coast to coast, and dozens of you shared with me your own airport security horror stories. But I also heard from screening officers themselves, some who've left the job, and they tell me there's more to the story. They pointed to systemic issues that might explain why this might be happening.
The environment for working for CATSA and Garda at the Ottawa airport is very toxic, very chaotic, and there's a revolving door of agents that is constant. It's a high-stress work environment, and that combined with the toxicity from Garda supervisors and the constant flow of passengers can really get to a screening officer and cause them to become overworked, to become overstressed, and that is compounded by the fact that they often miss their breaks, they miss their lunches.
I think the majority of my colleagues while I worked there were very committed to doing their job well. They weren't trying to be rude, they weren't trying to make their passengers feel uncomfortable, but there are a lot of things that we can change, like putting an effort in to make sure that we have good people in charge of us. And I also feel like we were not very well compensated for the work that we were doing. And I think that's why the turnover is so bad, because there isn't really an incentive to stay there.
Another officer who's LGBTQ says they experienced verbal abuse from colleagues. They didn't want to be on camera, but shared their story.
I was called names based on my presentation. I witnessed colleagues do inappropriate pat downs to other colleagues and then pass it off as jokes. To tell the truth, it felt like hitting a wall because no matter how many times I went to upper management, the people responsible never had any consequences.
I contacted CATSA and Garda World to put these concerns to them. Both of them did not want to do an interview with me. But Garda wrote it disagrees with the characterization of its management and says officers work in a healthy and productive environment. And CATSA says it trusts Garda to work out staff concerns. But screening officers want things to change. They hope speaking out might help their colleagues and future travelers.
That was the CBC's Priscilla Kisan-Huang reporting from Ottawa. When you're flying out of Whitehorse in or out, it's impossible to miss the massive construction underway right now at the airport. There are huge piles of dirt, equipment, and crews, and it's all part of an effort to reconstruct the runway. We got a tour behind the scenes to bring you a closer look.
The project is basically replacing the whole main runway. This year we're doing the north half of the runway. Next summer the plan is to rebuild the south half. So the work includes replacement of all the pavement structures, new electrical system for edge lighting, and installation of some subdrains and infield drainage work. The amount of wire that we're installing as part of the electrical upgrade could stretch from Whitehorse to Carcross and back. That's one of my funnest facts I have. The original runway surface, it was built back in World War II, sort of around when they built the Alaska Highway. So the underlying concrete here on the runway is from the early 40s. The last time the runway was rehabbed majorly was the late 80s. So we're kind of on borrowed time. Main challenges are all north challenges, short construction season, small workforce, and just ensuring we have enough vehicles, equipment, people for a project of this size. There's also challenges just working at an operational site, right? The airport has to stay open. We have to keep providing air service for Yukoners. This is probably one of the biggest projects that Highways and Public Works is doing right now. Our contract with the prime contractor here is for $160.6 million, which is, I think, one of our biggest. And we're expected to be reopened full brand new runway kind of next fall, so fall of 2025.
The Canadian Armed Forces are currently in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. They're conducting military exercises as part of Operation Nunuk-Nunakput. The operation focuses on enhancing Arctic surveillance and mobility along Canada's Northwest Passage. Exercises have been going on since August. Major Alex Gagné is on his first northern deployment. He says local knowledge has been valuable in refining operations.
Cambridge Bay locals are they live here. This is their land, and they give a very interesting perspective and a very, very useful advice.
The operation began with soldiers living outside Cambridge Bay after they began sovereignty patrols along the Northwest Passage. Gagné says maintaining a strong presence in the Arctic is important.
We move soldiers up to train and assert that sovereignty, and sovereignty is maintained throughout, through a variety of different organizations in a variety of different ways.
Operation Nunuk-Nunakput takes place in the summer when the Northwest Passage is clear. The operation is set to wrap up around September 17th. The stories of elders from Huaktok Nunavik are being shared in a new documentary series. The project is a collaboration between singer Beatrice Deer and filmmaker Kim Obumsawin, the president of Inuasi. The series was inspired by Beatrice Deer's desire to learn more about her mother's past. The first part of the series focuses on her mother's upbringing in igloos and revisits her childhood camp 7 decades later.
It's a treasure because my mom is gonna be 78 soon, and realizing more and more that as much as we want them around forever, our elders are not going to be here forever, and it's important to gather their knowledge as much as we can and spend as much time as we can with them.
The second part of the series will include interviews with other elders in the community, and the goal is to preserve and pass on their traditional knowledge to future generations.
We don't pretend we're the one who will save all those knowledge, but we're just trying our best to do our little something in that greater mission that we all share as Indigenous people.
The Huaktuk Elders Project is one of 7 Nunavik initiatives recently funded by the Quebec government. Once completed, the series will be available online. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Why, hello.
You want it? I got it. This is so cool.
Focus, focus, focus. Here we go.
Oh, imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Good God!
This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers. I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi. Yeah, you can come on over. I'll be right there.
You're here. I feel better already.
It's got to come from the heart.
I will cry. You're so together.
Spicy.
Now we're all just getting the sillies.
How much more connected do you want to be? Yeah.
Is this a team meeting? Because I'm part of the team.
See you there.
How can any of this be fair?
Now you might think, hey, we just need more doctors, but that's not really it.
A Russian scheme here
Shows you where it starts, where it ends.
Were you really willing to risk that job? Yes.
At Thunder Bay's favorite festival, Wake the Giant.
Ta-da! There it is.
I've lived through today, this day, before.
What would you be prepared to do if you had one more chance?
Anything.
Welcome to Plan B Agency. Select your desired destination.
News you can trust, delivered when you want, where you want, with local CBC Radio 1 Live to connect us closer to home on the CBC News app. Download for free.